It is 12:19. Let's talk about what's happening in France, politics in France. The government there facing collapse, with the Prime Minister widely expected to lose a confidence vote in Parliament this evening. The loss of another PM is set to further undermine President Macron's authority. We can speak now to Jamie Smith-Maillet, a freelance journalist who's in the French Parliament for us. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good to talk to you. Things have been turbulent politically for some time now in France. How do we get to this point?
Yeah, exactly. You can definitely use that word turbulent and probably think back to sort of 2024 and the challenges of the last year. And really, well, in some ways, the last 9 months or so is probably seen as probably the most sort of stable part in politics within the last year. But ultimately, it's sort of been bubbling away under the surface at the challenges that have been facing the political establishment. What is happening today is all really round plans of the current Prime Minister, François Bayrou, setting out plans for austerity measures to reduce France's debt burden, and he's hoping to reduce it by 44 billion euros next year in 2026. Now, some of the measures that he'll be laying out today in a policy statement, they've proved so far pretty unpopular with opposition parties, and he decided, shocked the political establishment really just a couple of weeks ago by calling Parliament back in early for today's extraordinary session, not only to just lay out these policy measures, but also to ask for confidence in the measures, essentially in the government and in his leadership, which it looks like is set to fall and fail this evening, as you were saying there, and that ultimately he will be pushed to resign. So it's just the latest phase in a relatively prolonged period of turbulence, as you were saying, in France.
Never a dull day in politics, whatever country you're focusing in on. It's worth reminding people, because you spoke of the challenges there being faced in France, reminding us what some of the big challenges, the big issues in France are at the moment.
Well, the big one being tabled here at the moment is really the budget. And, you know, France is facing currently 114% GDP to debt ratio. So that really was also the last hurdle for the previous prime ministers. That was Michel Barnier of last year, from September to December. So he was only in the job for 3 months. And that's what's cropping up again here as a big challenge. That's probably because the parliament as well is very divided since the snap election of last year into 3 blocks of left, centre and the right, far right. So that's making it really tricky to sort of come to arrangements on economical measures. Other things over here as well, the question of immigration is a big one, notably pushed by the right and far right parties. So not completely dissimilar to what we're hearing across the channel. Obviously the small boats crisis that has been discussed a lot in the UK is also part of the discussion here, and that will continue to be the case in France and for politics in the year ahead. Finally, I would say that perhaps from a more international perspective, the President Macron has been known to perhaps play a role of bigger leader in some ways, some will say, in international affairs rather than in domestic affairs. So he's been seen to kind of coordinate efforts regarding the war in Ukraine and so on and so forth. So a focus on international affairs for him, but in domestic affairs, that's really where there are still hurdles ahead.
How precarious is this vote for the Prime Minister? Is he likely to win? And what happens if he doesn't?
Yeah, so it is looking very likely that he will fail this evening, and that's really because we know already that the far-right party, which has about a third of seats, plus the left-wing alliance, they have all said that they will be voting against this vote of confidence. So really his own allies in the centrist parties not getting just mathematically enough seats and votes through this evening. So he looks like it just needs a simple majority. He looks like he will fall this evening. He'll have to resign. His cabinet will collapse, and we'll be back to a position in France without a government probably this evening. What happens next? In the French constitution, it's the president, Emmanuel Macron, who has the role, who is politically democratically elected in France. It's his job to appoint the prime minister. So what is likely to happen is he'll be looking for a replacement in the days or weeks ahead, but there have been calls from the left and the right for him to dissolve parliament Parliament, the National Assembly, which he did last June, or even for him to resign. Now, so far, we have heard from him that he's planning on doing neither of these two things, and he'll probably be looking for a replacement, and that would be the seventh Prime Minister since he took office in 2017 in his first term.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be a regular occurrence, doesn't it, in France, a different Prime Minister. What's the public reaction been like in France to what's happening tonight? I'm interested in that because, you know, as you put it there, it sounds like this is quite a common occurrence for them, and it's being billed as a political crisis, the Eurozone's second largest economy, plunging deeper into political crisis if he loses there. Are they, you know, seeing it as a big drama or taking it in their stride?
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of party politics in all of this that we can probably compare to what people say in the UK as well, with even the most recent crisis within the UK Parliament that you've been covering recently. So in the streets, and I'm actually based outside Paris mostly, so get the voices of people that are not in Paris and in the political establishment. And there is a shift really as well of support towards the far right and more populist movements. And that's kind of like, in many ways, really due to the fact that a lot of people are saying they're fatigued with party politics and the establishment so far. They feel that they've not really answered their questions, and it's really pushed to a more populist vote in recent times. A poll just a week or so ago actually highlighted as well a sense of concern about politics in France, but also just this sense of malaise, this sense of fatigue with politics overall. So there is a deeper crisis in France, absolutely.
OK, Jamie, thank you so much for bringing us up to date. That all happening this evening in France. Jamie Smith-Maillet there, freelance journalist who's in the French Parliament for us here on 5 Live, following the events in the build-up to that confidence vote in the French Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou. It's happening in Parliament there this evening. Thank you. Now, any excuse for a bit of this.